Here we go. Okay, so, so this is the time capsule?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's right here.
And this was in the ground for 60 years?
1951.
1951.
That's the quarter
It wasn't actually in the ground, it was in the building. The time capsule was actually inside that cornerstone, that granite cornerstone, and it was one of the parts, one of the pieces of the building, and we weren't able to figure out how the water got inside, so we'll have to research that a little bit more and find out.
And so these are some of the letters from the time capsule. Wow. And are these...
Well, actually, some of it's kind of preserved in a different area, but these are pictures of the students that were in the time capsule. And this is a copy of the letter that was written to go into the time capsule years ago.
Oh, wow.
The first schoolhouse that was in Baldwin is right here. There's a picture of it.
That's the first schoolhouse. It seems so small.
And it had 2 rooms and an attic, so that the students could sleep up in the attic.
And then that was the first school building in Olathe.
It's a little bigger.
Right. And then that was torn down, and then a bigger building was built. And then this is the third building that still stands today, the Ross building.
And this was built, okay, November of 1935.
And Madeline, I wanted to show you somebody where they recognized that the cupola wasn't there.
Oh, my goodness. Oh.
And so we're just wondering when it was added, what year it was added. And it looks like it could have been within a couple of years, but.
And what is this? This letter?
From Governor Landon.
Oh, okay, and he sent the pen with his letter. Neat.
These are the different shovels that were used for the different groundbreaking. I wanted to show you this over here too. In 1891, this was a ledger of staff and how much they got paid
Oh, wow.
for their work.
1891, right here. This is it. $86. Is that for the year?
I think it was a
A
month.
month, I think
Month.
it's
Oh, okay,
May
for the
at
month
top.
of May.
And here's the superintendent from 1922. He got $200 a month.
Wow.
Can you imagine Madeline living on $200 a month?
Not now, but I suppose $200 was probably worth a lot more back then.
Look at all of these day books, record books.
And what year are do you have any idea what year these are from?
Don't say on the
Not
outside.
sure.
I think, well, that one says July 1 of 1800. July 1, 1896 to June 30, 1897.
So these are actually the actual journals.
This one is the daily record from stores,
It's a ledger.
96 and 1897, the Deaf and Dumb Asylum.
Really?
Really.
And that's what it was called.
And the word dumb in the past equated to not able to speak. And
Okay.
at that time, if you couldn't speak, you weren't intelligent. And so,
So it kind of had the same meaning, but it also had a different connotation as well.
yes.
In what era did you say this was?
That one was July 1st of 1896 to June 30th, 1897.
Dumb Asylum.
And I think that we have the first ledger, you know, of course, it's pretty much disintegrated, but we have sent it off to have it professionally preserved and try to have it restored. Up here, if you look, KSD is one of the first schools, because Olathe, and it was built before any other school was built in Olathe.
I see that. It's the biggest area on the map.
And Olathe North is in this area now.
Wow. And that was 1881.
And when the state was made a state of Kansas, that was the same year that we were established. So the state's the same year, same age as the school.
So Kansas is only 150 years old.
Right.
That's
That was
amazing.
The first year of the Civil War, 1861.
Oh, so you guys were established at a rough economic time.
Yeah, and, you know, another one of the early stories is that in this area, I think most people are familiar with Quantrill and his raid on Lawrence, Kansas. And after he had ransacked Lawrence, he was coming back, and he was headed right for Baldwin. But there were Union forces that intercepted him and stopped him. Otherwise, he may have come through and burned up the little White House that was the beginning of
School for the deaf could not
Mhm.
have even been here.
Right.
All
Or they
right.
probably just
Exactly.
moved. But, you know, they were a man and his wife and their children and 5 little girls at the time.
Wow. Okay, well, thank you very much. Is there anything else you want to show me?
And then
These
along
pictures.
this wall are just pictures of different graduating classes.
Do they have the first graduating class? Yeah?
1890 here.
We didn't, if you look up here, it says we graduating classes there. But I think we didn't graduate a class till several years after we started.
So this would be the class of 1926. And you guys always allowed women in, didn't you?
And we always
Yeah.
allowed.
And also because of the Civil War, school was suspended for several years. And so there weren't any students here for several years. And they were honorably discharged, you know, the military word for a disability or unable to participate in the war. So they were honorably discharged, again, for age or needed to leave and take care of their family or whatever. And that was in 1890 is when school was suspended, and they received a regular diploma.
Wow, that's really neat.
And over here is the old desks that the students used, and the
Oh, wow.
dining room area, you know, dining room table and chairs, and the superintendents that have been here in the history of the school. And Madeline is actually the 28th as superintendent. But we had one superintendent that was here 3 different times.
So these are the old desks. Well, they look sturdy. And so these are all the superintendents.
This left and came back 3 different times, Albert Stewart.
Let's see.
And so he counts.
There's Albert 1, Albert again, same picture, and then Albert the last time. And there's Madeline.
And then the only other female.
The only other female. The last female president was served in 1920. Wow.
And Madeline is the second female superintendent in the history of the school.
Wow. Neat. Okay.
Something that's interesting, the first 2 superintendents were deaf. And then, since then, all of the superintendents have been hearing.
Really? Huh.
Yeah. And that tells you, you know, with the change of time, you know, people weren't required to have certification or any of that sort of thing, and anybody could be superintendent.
And so you think that's why the change happened? I mean,
Oh, I don't know. I don't know that I would say that. I think attitudes, you know, I know in the past there was a death can attitude, and then after the Milan conference in Italy, everything kind of changed, and there was more support for oralism or speaking, and you know, kids were slapped on the hands with their rulers, their hands were tied behind their back, they weren't allowed to sign, and then finally signing came back around, but you had to learn to talk too, and now it's sort of back to if a child can talk and sign, then that's respected, you know, more respect for the language over the last 20 years.
gotcha. Okay, well, thank you.